or rather subservient to the sun, simply because its ability to make the moon invisible when it's anywhere near the sun. Therefore, he's considered to be the king in that respect only. But the node is just a node. There's no body there. It's just the intersecting of two planes, and so as the sun goes through that, it does seem like the waves going out of phase, and then that node is just that cancellation point, which only lasts for a little bit. And I've looked at the speed of Rahu and the speed of the moon, and whatever caused the eclipse was just too fast. If it was the sun overpassing the moon, it's still way too fast. You need about 6 hours of eclipse, really. And so it's a combination of sun, moon, and north node, which are basically sources of light that when they together like this, the sun's light is cancelled, but you will never see anything solid at all. Definitely there's no solidity to the moon, and there's no solidity to this fulcrum of what we call a node. So
that was my thought, Santos. How could this, so say these were planets or whatever, how could it take just a few minutes in each person's perspective, or 20 minutes, for it to go right across? It's too quick. I mean, that would mean that object is moving moving really fast then, isn't it? Say that was the moon, and that was going across the sun. That thing's going really fast then. That was my thought.
That's right.
Mm.
That's right. The moon is moving about 1.5 degrees every 3 hours. So, a 20-minute. How long was the duration of that eclipse?
I'm not sure. Chris, do you remember how long yours was yesterday?
Well, the total path, I think it lasted for 5 hours and 20 minutes to cross the entire United States, and I think totality was 7.5 to 8 minutes, like for totality. But it was quite a long event. I mean, it lasted here. It started from start to finish. When you first started to see the eclipse start to finish was pushing 2.5 hours for it to cross. But in totality, like I said, it was like 10 minutes maybe max. Yeah, so the time, like Santos says, I tried to calculate times and it doesn't work out, right?
Yeah, none of it does. Yeah, it's definitely not going with harmonizing with any of the timings. The moon is much slower than that. I don't know. It's definitely a combination of the three, and it's held mankind perplexed for so long. Definitely was something to stimulate our minds. Quite a unique event, and but definitely we can rest assured that these eclipses do occur at the nodes. That's one thing we need to remember. I've gone back and looked at countless eclipses. The one that happened on March the 20th, 2015, that's the one where it was filmed in the aeroplane and people were inside the aeroplane, and there was these 4 or 5 discs floating around near the sun at the time. And of course there was no moon to be seen because it was a full moon to this eclipse, the one 2 years ago, because this one happened in the region of Ketu, opposite Rahu. And so, but the sun was definitely blocked out by one of those 4 or 5 discs. I'm sure you guys have seen that footage.
Yeah, I have.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, Flight 187 Alaska. Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, look, that was quite unique. That was actually K2, the tail of the dragon. So whether these nodes are embedded in the firmament, as many of the ancient traditions say, the stars and the planets are actually embedded in this firmament structure, and those nodes retrogress every 18 years. Of course, the nodes are very, very important in astrology, both in Western and Eastern astrology. There are 7 planets and 2 nodes, and that makes 9. That's 9 bodies in a ship in the sky, so to speak. But the nodes, even in the Ptolemaic geocentric astrology of Europe, before Copernicus came along for 1,500 years, all astrologers and scientists and astronomers were working with the nodes. You cannot be an astrologer and not acknowledge the nodes. They are equally as important as the sun and the moon in your chart. So, for instance, you're of the Gemini sign. I'm Karen. I'm from Aries. Well, that's our sun sign.
Mm-hmm.
But equally as important is to know where your north node is. You see, mine is in Cancer. 63 Cancer as well, and that node is Rahu, the north node, and it shows where you are climbing up in your astrological chart, where you are going upwards, like the moon. When she crosses that north node, she now is above the sun for 2 weeks, okay, in astrological parlance. So this is why the north node is important to know. So it shows you where your purpose and destiny is, because that's where the moon is headed. She doesn't like the south node. She wants to be above the sun. You know, she wants the moonshine to be more splendid than the sunshine. Two rivaling, so to speak, bodies in the heavens. And so if they are disks, luminous disks, and they have their circuits and trajectories traced out in the firmament, well, astronomers will know when they're going to cross with those nodes. It's pretty easy. You just have to have an astrological program and you can predict every eclipse in history. I can do it. I can predict eclipses. They're easy. All I do is just watch when the nodes are getting closer to the points where sun and moon conjunct, and you can predict it. It's kindergarten. It's so easy. It's kindergarten stuff. Yeah. So the moon definitely is both self-luminous, as you say, Chris, and she also responds to the sun. So the sun is probably the vitalizer of all the bodies, as it is with us. You know, without the sun, we die. And that's the only body that we can really directly connect to with the principle of life. We don't so much do that with Jupiter and Saturn. They are the helpers. It's Snow White and the 7 dwarfs. Okay, it's Snow White is the sun, and the 7 dwarfs are the 7 electromagnetic refracted lights coming from Snow White. So the sun obviously is energizing the earth with the moon rather with light, and as the astrologers teach, it will be a specialization, a certain vibration of light. So the moon will specialize in red light. Simply, she is red and blood is red, and she is the moonstruator. So she has a monthly cycle, as do all women, and it's red. So when that red beam reaches the moon, it stimulates her body, and then she diffuses that light and she becomes, well, it's like those ionizers. You've seen those ionizers. They self-illuminate once, you know, a charge is put into them. And so the moon, I would say, would be like that. And then The fact that you'd never see a full moon, you only see it for the better part of a day in the sky, proves, ancients say, like the Hindus, that the moon is eclipsed for 99% of her trajectory by Mount Meru. Now, I don't understand how this works properly, but this is what I consistently come up against, that the moon is being eclipsed, this magnetic body in the center of the earth. And so this is why her glory is less than the sun's, because no one eclipses the sun. Nothing can. He is invincible. Hence, the 25th of December used to be called, Christmas Day used to be called Deis Solis Natis. So in Latin, that means the day of the conquered, invincible Deis Solis, the day of the sun. Whereas the moon, she's always being defeated, constantly. You know, she has the battle wounds. She's Diana, the goddess of war, according to the Greeks. Artemis, Mary Magdalene, you know, glorified by Jesus, and then not so dignified, you know, because of her prostitutions. Well, the moon is seen to be a little prostitute in the sky, because she goes through the zodiac signs in 2.5 days, 60 hours, exactly, 60 hours per sign. And so she's going through 144 signs a year. The 144 number comes in. You will get exactly 144 transits of the moon every solar year. That is the true church, the church of the 144,000. The moon is church. Churche, Circe, Ceres, Circe, cereals. The point is that her light, like the sun's light, the sun is the only giver known in the skies, man and woman, that is, of course. The sun is the only, all the others are receivers. This is the difference between all the other bodies in the sky. The sun is the giver. That's why Jesus is the one who gives his life on behalf of mankind, because it's the spirit of Jesus in the sun. It's Christ is light, and that principle is in the sun. We are now transforming ourselves from a planetary condition to a state. We are becoming solar heroes, like Hercules, like Achilles. When he comes back to his kingdom, he is much more than when he left after his 10 years of wandering in the Odyssey. And then when he comes back to Penelope, which is the higher mind, he pierces with his arrow the needle, and he gains her confidence, and all the suitors flee, because, you know, Ulysses, Achilles, Hercules, the sun has actualized. And so what's going on in Scripture when it says that he will return, the Christ will return? It's speaking about these events that we've just witnessed. All the time, as we are upgrading, and we can feel that our consciousness is expanding every day. Mine is, at least, and I'm pretty confident that yours is, and the listeners. So if that's happening, so above, the sun also is being upgraded in DNA. DNA is an anagram for Dan, Adan, which is Spanish for Adam. Adum, dum, dum, the sun. That's the pulse of the sun. Only the sun pulses like this. Pierluigi Gina, the colleague of Marconi, the one who claims that they both discovered that the Earth is stationary, and I presented that about a month ago on this show, he said that he studied the sun for 30 years after he left Marconi. And what I know is that the sun is a heart, and it beats, it's a pulse, and it has the same rate as the heart in the heart rate in our bodies. It says, as the heart beats, the sun beats. Exactly the same. So he is the giver. That's why we are required to actualize as animal beings into spirit beings and inherit the solar state. We don't want to be living in a planetary condition. People who are in a condition or a planetary condition, they have not actualized. They're not heroes because they only receive. They need to receive welfare. They need to receive information, guidance, direction. They need to receive from someone who is already actualized, and they don't have the ability to be givers. When reach this point where we are sacrificing ourselves and giving of our energy to save others, this is when we have accepted the Christ. That's all it means. And so we have become like Christ, for he gave his life. He saved. And that's what the sun is doing. The sun is also being crucified at Capricorn. At Cancer, it is exalted. It's higher up. It's actually higher in the skies. And heliocentrism actually acknowledges this fact as well. Not only do we acknowledge this, but in fact, they say that the sun is 3 or 4 million miles further away at Cancer than it is at Capricorn. So from the Northern Hemisphere perspective, when you behold the sun at Capricorn, you see that its rays have been defeated. Its luminosity is not as so distant, and it's so cold now. It's winter, and so the sun appears to be defeated on the 21st of December, the solstice. But then we put the Christmas trees out, and on the 24th at midnight, the sun begins its trajectory from Capricorn to climb that glorious hill, Mount Zion, Mount Sinai, Mount Meru, Mount Sumeru, Mount Olympus, to re-establish itself as king of the mountain as it goes back to Cancer, where it is high and exalted, and there is the sign of Cancer and the sign of Leo, where both Jack and Jill to fetch a pail of water. That's where they are dignified in their signs, Cancer and Leo. And then, of course, Jack fell down and broke his crown, Kronos, the sun's crown. The crest of the sun is the crown of Christ. He wears a thorn, and that thorn is the corona. Interesting how we still call it corona to this day. Those beautiful magnetic beams of light coming from the sun. That's Christ with his crown. And only Kronos, master of time, his twin, has the other crown. And this is why people who work for the crown, people who turn up in court saying, we represent the crown, and the judge represents the crown, the prosecutor does, and it looks like the clerk and the bailiffs, they're all working for the crown. So what does crown copyright mean? And why do funny people dressed in funny clothes
Hello?
Did he just disconnect or something?
Do we lose Santos? Yeah.
Oh no.
I think I went a bit far with that rant, so that sums it up.
We always love hearing what you've got to say, Santos.
You're on.
Santos, have you noticed anything? I've been researching quite a bit lately with the lunar cycles and the eclipse cycles, and I pulled up a chart there too. to share screen there. Where is, let me share this other one here first, just so I can show you what I mean. It's easier to, and now, one, share screen. Minimize that. I don't know if you can see that there, but I've been looking into the cycles and the grand solar minimum, grand solar maximums. Ran across a lot of this. This one here is it's from principiascientific.org, and there's a whole slew of PhD level like white papers talking about the what is in essence the coming ice age, like another mini ice age like we went through in the 1600s. We're heading towards like there was a medieval period that we went really cold with a little ice age around 15 and 1600s. It looks like we're trending towards a new Dalton minimum or a Maunder minimum where it's going to crash. Simply. Have you seen anything? Idea? Any research?
Yes, I can't pull anything up, but I've seen probably in the last 10 years since I've been fully awakened. I always point to 2007 as the October 2007 when I was put on the right track. Okay, before that I was semi-illuminated and awakened, and I have seen at least, I could count them up to about 10 times. I've seen articles well written and well researched with similar evidence pointing to a smaller ice age coming, like a cooling. So this is interesting, and the evidence seems to indicate that that's true. And so I think possibly one very important element of this climate control program of governments with chemtrail spraying is probably trying to excite the what they call the ionosphere, to create artificial heat, to just keep their Club of Rome conceived global warming concept in the 80s and early 90s, probably just to keep it alive a little bit longer, as they do, you know. Essentially all they're doing, folks, everything they do, right, everything, is providing ecclesiastical inquisition. The war on terror is just a morphed name for the Inquisition, which started about 800 years ago, all of these inquisitions and crusades, when the surname really started to be established, okay? And we did this on the show, you'll remember, guys, last week about we went through the list of popes, and noticed that for 900 years, no one bothered with surnames. Now, isn't it funny that SUR rhymes with surety, a corporation, not a real person, and it also phonetically rhymes with Sir, SIR. So your surname is actually a title. Someone asks you for your name, never ever give them any titles, guys. The moment you do, they pull rank on you, because a sir and a surname is the lowest rank, you see. So they'll just pull rank on you, taser you, and warehouse you in their little warehouse system, where they can generate bonds on the stock exchange and make money, even if it's only 10 minutes of incarceration. They've already bonded you and they're making money out of it. That's all they're doing. So you are required by law, though, and this is universal law, to give your name. And that is your Christian name, your given name. In my case, it's Santo. And so the point, what was I getting at? That I digressed quite a bit, but for a good reason. You asked a pertinent question, Chris, if you could refresh my memory.
He's wanting you to
we started talking about the coming cooling ice age and a repeat of the Middle Ages, and how they're playing the game of the global warming to sell you global warming when in fact they're trying to heat it up. And it's just
Yes. Now I've got the thread again. I was going to close that off, this thought, with everything's a Ponzi scheme that goes back to the surname, guys. It's all founded on the surname in sovereignty. And on the spiritual side, they also made a new world order. It's called the Copernican Revolution. So they added that to spiritually dumb us down. The surname will materially dumb us down because it's the lowest rank. All they're doing with these global warming and all of these global scams, global economy, global governance, global networking, global blah, 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 all to continue the Inquisition, the Ponzi scheme of the Inquisition. Murder the conscious ones that are awakening, keep them in debt, and keep them sick, banking interest. Wars to cull the herd, because they're just stupid goy anyway, aren't they? Useless idiots. They know how to, do a 9 to 5 are real good because they're educated to do that, and they're so proud that they're loyal to their company, and that they leave their children at home for, sometimes up to 80 hours a week with their, sometimes their mother going to a part-time job, so they're in a nursery, and they're proud of these 9 to 5 jobs just under broke. And, rather than fulfilling their commission and their calling, which is to do work, not jobs, we are doing the good work, the magnus opus, the magnum opus. We are doing work. We don't do jobs. Stoop down to that level and beg for some pay for our job. Oh, what a reward. Blood money, fiat currency. So once we, get out of the Inquisition, know who we are, we commence to do the good work of the Lord, which is to illuminate our brothers. Why are we here? Why are we at this hangout? Because, because it's irresistible, this awakening. The knowledge is calling us, intelligence is calling us. It's just irresistible. We're called, and so we have to respond. And in doing so, we serve ourselves, we serve the Creator, and we serve others. The ones who are working for the Inquisition, who don the uniforms, policemen, judges, and people who work for the Crown, they are opposing our good work. They throw us in mental asylums. They witch hunt us. They tell us that astrology is from the devil. The Christians tell us that it's from the devil. The academies tell us that it's pseudo-science. Well, it's only been pseudo-science for the last few hundred years. Because the New World Order globe has brought people, and good people, because the scripture says that the false prophets will deceive, even if possible, with lying portents and powerful signs and grandiose teachings to pull us away of the true course. And so what is the true course? Well, it's geocentrism. It's stationary geocentrism. And lo and behold, the system, because supposedly Copernicus debunked who? Well, Ptolemy. And what is the Ptolemaic system? Well, it's geocentric. Ptolemy says that the center. And then there are 10 spheres above us, and he calls them in this order. Now pay attention, guys, this is so curious. Sphere is that of the moon, then Mercury, then Venus, then the Sun, then Mars, then Saturn. Well, I have recounted this order in many of my presentations. In fact, I've spoken about this countless times on the airwaves, presentations that I've done. I said something curious. The remaining 3 spheres are called thusly. The firmament, crystalline sea, and then the primum mobile. Very interesting, because it concurs with the Bible. Also relates that there is a firmament and a crystalline sea and a dome/vault, primum mobile. So the Bible is geocentric, and the Bible teaches about the firmament, as does astrology. And so in a minute, once someone else inputs after I close this off, I will actually read to you what the Ptolemaic geocentric is. And that's the one that was around for thousands of years before the Copernican revolution. Anaximenes, you heard of him? 528 BCE. There were 3 philosophers that had this anax suffix to their, a prefix rather, to their name. Anaximenes, which I'm going to quote, Anaximander, another one I forget right now, doesn't matter. This is what they said. According to the surviving sources of his life, Anaximenes flourished in the 6th century and died about 528. He is the 3rd philosopher of the Milesian school of philosophy, so named because of Thales and Anaximander. Anaximenes was an associated. Okay, this is the point. Anaximenes is best known for his doctrine that air is the source of all things. In this way, the doctrine of air, hang on. Because I notice you've got the air below and then the air above, right? This is what they used to teach. That the air, the Earth is a flat, stationary body. It is raised up. There's an air cushion underneath it. That's what Anaximander taught. So I just want to find that in the article. I've obviously lost it. I thought I had it, but just bear with me and I'll... here we go. Okay. Anaximenes, like Anaximander, gives an account of how our world came out of previously existing matter. According to Anaximenes, Earth was formed from air by a felting process. It began as a flat disk. Vibrations from the Earth, fiery bodies arose, which came to be the heavenly bodies. The Earth floats on a cushion of air. The heavenly bodies, or at least the sun and the moon, also seem to be flat bodies that float on streams of air. On one account, the heavens are like a felt cap that turns around the head. The stars may be fixed to this surface like nails. On account, the stars are like fiery leaves floating on the air. The sun does not travel under the earth, but circles around it and is hidden by the higher parts of the earth at night. Well, that would be, Mount Meru, like Anaximander, Anaximenes uses his principle to account for various natural phenomena. Lightning and thunder result from wind breaking out of clouds. Rainbows are the results of rays of the sun falling on clouds. Earthquakes are caused by the cracking of the earth when it dries out after being moistened by rains. He gives an essentially correct account of hail as frozen rainwater. Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's the old school, pre-Hermes type of Hermeticism, and those guys knew what they were doing, right? The transmutation of energies, and they understood it right from the ground up, like literally. And that's, I think they're trying to squash that information because it, in my opinion, it frees us as individual people. Like if you really wanted to be the free man on the land, and if you master your arts of your sciences and your hermetic sciences, you no longer need the system because you can get all the power, energy, food, right, for free, the way it should be, right? I think.
Yeah, well, that's what worshipping God means, to receive free from God in a usufruct system. He is the provider, and he doesn't give, he provides. And so we receive that, and we take the life from the Christ or God, which is the Son, which is the life giver. And so by turning our back,
yeah,
turning our backs to that free system and paying for energy, insulting the Creator, we are disobedient demon worshippers. That's how we are considered.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There's a passage too that talks about Moses. You know, he went against the Pharaoh and took the people into the wilderness to worship, right? And he was actually practicing husbandry and caring for the wilderness itself, like as people, you know, taking care of the wilderness, right? In return, yeah, husbandry. Yeah. We're so backwards. Yeah.
We've left the true law of God, which is really in our constitutions, you know, our law of the land. This is the law of God. And we've gone for maritime law, which comes from a foreign corporation, which is Rome. It's basically we're doing business with, you know, with foreign vessels without permission. We should be self-sustaining. Nations should be able to provide. In every nation, you should be able to survive. You don't need to do these maritime tradings. It's all about greedy businessmen, you know. Energy's free. We don't have to go out and dig up the earth and rape her and pillage her. There's many ways that we can provide. We can make cars out of hemp, you know, all the parts, you know, virtually 99% of an automobile out of plants and even minerals that don't need to, you know, cause damage.
We could have been on electric cars though, couldn't we? We could have actually had electric cars. We could have started off with those and not be in this position with petrol and diesel cars now.
Well, the first car in 1911 or whatever was actually an electric car, and it was faster than any diesel on the road. Yeah. We've had them for 200 years.
Yeah, this you go. I'll hold the thought.
Yeah, I've got these portals ready if you want to watch them.
All right. Well, I'll just close off with a little point there to close this point about electricity. Yes, it's superior to burning of so-called, you know, fossil fuels, but it's still dealing with the heating up transverse wave. We need to go to the Schallberger implosion, which is a radial actual energy, not an actual rate. That electricity is still harmful. We don't need that electricity. What we need is magneto-dielectricity, which is not electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is redshift, blue shift, the transverse wave. Okay, that wave has a frequency, a wave amplitude, and a wavelength. Whereas the pulse, the longitudinal wave, which is real free energy, it is a field perturbation, and it is a pulse of compressions and rarefactions. And so that is magneto-dielectricity. That is our true energy, not electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is a temporal, spatial, disintegrating energy. The wave disintegrates. It's not 100% reliable. The foundation of our cosmos, magnetic wave. That's why the cosmos can be sustained forever. It doesn't need to be decomposed. As long as that wave is sustaining the transverse phenomena of our reality, it will exist forever. should the creator wish it to.
Okay. Yes, we understand about the dielectric side. Chris has gone on a lot about that now and just been taught the wrong thing when they keep saying electric or all that. It's dielectric. Could I just say one thing, Santos, as well? Oh, carry on.
Yep.
I was just going to say one other thing because I know that Rob wants to present something. But when Ceres found the Buddha, which I know you remember that he has, it was like the moon does one part of the heartbeat and the sun does the other. Is that right, Ceres? Do you remember that when we were doing that?
I missed half of it.
Oh, I was saying, do you remember when we were talking to Alan, when you'd found the Buddha and you were putting all the Buddha on and the Buddha was frequencies, and then we did that the sun and the moon were going dodong. One does one does the other. It's like half of the heartbeat. It's the sun and the moon. One's like going out, one's coming in.
Yeah. It's like the energy of the heartbeat out. Also between the sun and the moon. The earth. Oh God. Not his brother chicken.
Oh my goodness! I'm just going to stop for a minute. Oh my goodness.
The sun beating it to the earth and we catching it and then reflecting back to the moon or something.
Guys, this is a beautiful thing, because Pierluigi Ghina, the genius in Italy, much respected, Marconi for 10 years, they discovered two energies. And he always just was discussing these two energies all the time. Never did he not. And he said he and Marconi discovered that there's the solar energy, which is a vortex in a clockwise direction, and which is absorbed by the Earth and then returned in an anti-clockwise direction. Same energy, the other half. And when these two vortexes come together at the wave amplitude, this is where they begin to condense, and this is where matter is forming. There's only two energies: the sun's, which is the rotating ether field, because that's what Taurus means, backwards, rotate, okay? And mag is the root in Sanskrit for to move, motion, the principle of force and motion, inertia and acceleration. The moon and the sun are cathodes and anodes, and the sun is the magnetic radiating energy, Ra, radiate, and the moon is the dielectric. She absorbs those rays and recirculates them. It's a dielectric ever. And so, yeah. And Pierluigi Ghina, he said that there are just these two energies. And here's another thing, guys, I'm going to throw this in before we hand over to Rob. Pierluigi Ghina, just before he died in 2004, he collected all the important people of his town, including the mayor, and he showed them the sun by night. That he showed many people the sun by night.
Okay.
So, yes, the sun can be seen at night. And Pierluigi Ghina, who proves with Marconi that the Earth's magnetic energy does not rotate. It must be stationary by experiment.
So did you see this then, Santos?
So did you see this then?
The sun at night. Did you see it?
No. What I can do on another hangout, or even this one, is I can find that video where he talks about it and I can translate it. But he sits there with a smile, this little old, almost toothless 90-year-old man, and he said, smiling, I showed many people the sun by night. He's got this laboratory, and he just knows how to. find the orbs at night without the visible gift of eyesight. So how could see what he was in effect saying was that the sun is still in the skies. It's just that we can't see it with our eyes, but it's right there, and you can see it with my mate.
Well, Santos, you can say it now or come back on another hangout, because we always love you on a hangout. So it's great if you come back and tell us on a hangout, a live one, because people, the comments.
Okay, well, we'll do one on Pierluigi Diagino, because there's a lot more that he taught about the flat Earth. He was mocking the fact that people believe they went to the moon. He was laughing about that. He says, according to them, they went to the moon.
Okay,
this man is a genius.
Can I ask one thing, Chris? Chris in Chris's work, when he was doing all his toroidal fields and stuff like that, he reckoned that the night time is the shadow from the sun. We're in the shadow of the sun at night. That's why it's night. Is that right, Chris?
We're in the black light of the sun.
Mm.
The sun is black light, and the black light is like this material. It activates on black light. You see that material, but you don't see the black light itself. And when we are in the dark, we are actually seeing the real sun. So we don't see it.
Oh, just the complete opposite of everything that we're to think. Okay, well, we'd like to have another hangout with Santos. We always love our hangouts with Santos. If that's okay with Santos. FPV, do you want to show your stuff then?
Hold on, there you go.
Is this something else I can't record again?
You can record it if you want.
Okay, then I'll just leave it on.
This is where you'll find goings on like this new Mir down in Antarctica. This is the German station, which I believe is one of the portals. Can you see the screen up
Yeah.
there? This is the sun. You see the manoeuvre it did there? That was the sun doing its circuit, coming back and then starting off for another circuit. And if you see that there, hey, if you're very good, you can get the two. Well, look, I knew they were. I'll give you a link to this. It's a webcam. It's still live now. I haven't released it much because as we know what we're watching, they're going to take it offline. So it's the only eyes we've got on the ground to see all these strange that you can definitely put down to be the portal. Left and one to the right of this as well. You'll see a lot of strange going on in this area. People call it Nibiru. It's not another sun. It's our own. The sky at once, it seems. As one comes back, one can be going off on a loop. There is, like I said, there's 12 or possibly 18 of these portals, and this is just one of them. So but it's the only one where we can see what you call serious portal activity, and dramatic as this camera does. So I think that building that you're looking at there's a CGI overlay. What's really there's somewhere beyond that big centre tube in the middle of it. There's another sun one. I'll give you the link to this. It's on every day, 24 hours a day. Range goings on. Definitely a portal. And the sun, moon, stars into our heavens. Oh. The rotation of the stars in this one, right to left. I'm sure in the south the rotation is left to right. That means this station here is on the outside of the star field looking in, projection from that area. You can go to time and date, watch one of these events. I usually pick Argentina because it's the closest landmass to where it's going to be heading to.
Just asking you then, Rob,
Right.
if it's the opposite, is that is that because that's happening in the northern hemisphere really, or do you think that's Antarctica?
This is, well, Antarctica's all around us, based on just off Argentina. It's that corner.
Which latitude is this station actually?
On Google Earth, I couldn't tell you the latitude off the top of the head. It's called New Maya 3. The link to it in chat. Hold on.
You know, series on your map there, that blue spot, that's a magnetic focal point down to the south and then a little bit to the left. So that'd be like the southeast, I guess, on your map. I think that's where that station is located, right at that focal point.
I think Argentina's over to the left. That's where they all seem to be drifting towards, which would be right. If you look at the bottom of Argentina on Google Earth, normally you see, I think it's one of the systems underground that's created that shape there. You'll see like a rounded shape, and I'm pretty sure the sun and moon navigate around that to get to their circuits.
So what?
Give me the station's name again.
So what do you think about that then, Santos?
There you go. In the chat there on the left, you'll see the link to that Antarctic station. Bookmark it and watch it daily. You'll see some very nice events going on. But don't air broadcast it, because that's the only eyes on the ground we've got. That's why I've kept that quiet. People are assuming there's just strange goings on and this, that, and the other, but I know what it is. It's one of the portals, and it's the only ones we've got eyes on the ground you can see going on. Keep watching it, and you'll see strange events, strange sky events going on. You'll pick up on it.
What do you think then, Santos?
Of that's so it's footage from the southern so-called hemisphere. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. That's just astounding. Yeah, portals. Yeah, there's obviously a lot more that we don't understand about this so-called firmament and how it's acting. But
Let's go with
yeah, I'm speechless. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know how to comment on that.
It's just we had a funny comment from a member, or was a member of the group, and he's explaining that his client was in Antarctica, and then he suddenly said, well, he's waiting for his equipment to come in, but it's not coming in till the end of January because the weather's so bad. And I kind of forgot about it, and then I thought about it, and I thought, well, January is summertime in Antarctica, and surely that'd be the easiest time to get the ships in, not the winter. And I suddenly thought, well, they can't be talking about Antarctica then, they've got to be talking about Greenland. So I was wondering whether a lot more is happening in Greenland and they're just not telling us, and they're sending everybody there and pretending it's Antarctica and all this kind of stuff's going on. It was just a thought I had.
See, another thing that proves it, Karen, I was talking to the guys with the 360, Dan and his team, and I've been liaising with them a bit, because their cameras are detecting the path of it going below ground, back above ground, below ground, back above ground, which confirms that it's in and out of portals probably 4 times a day. You know, for each quadrant, it seems to be a rising and a setting, then it comes up again.
Right, you know that's what Stan says, don't you, with his 360 camera. Santos, we've got someone who comes on our Hangouts, he's got a 360 camera, and the way he sees it is that they come out of the ground, go up and go round and go down in the ground again. The stars, the moon and the sun on this 360-degree camera.
It confirms portals. So really, I told Stan, all you need is one somewhere in the centre, facing north, south, east, west. to detect the 4 launches and set and landings, and that'll give you the sine wave pattern that you're seeing. Same for the sun. Well, the sun does it less. I think it's once a month. The sun. The Enoch portal descriptions, but the moon one's the one you catch them out on. It does it. It looks like it's doing it 4 times a day to me. Footage looks like it's going to confirm that. You can see it going up and down all the time. Deflecting around the equator and such. The corkscrew path, 3000. So a sine wave pattern going on with in and out these portals, which you know now are coming from a very large pyramid down below, from the King and Queen chamber, the sun and moon. And that's basically what it's doing, in my opinion. It's launching from each station to each station, getting around these rings in the sky, going about its business, coming down and doing it all over again, like clockwork. As designed.
Thanks for that, Rob. Santos, did you have something else to say then? You said that you were going to say something, but you'd wait till after the presentation, till Rob had finished. Santos.
Oh, you asked me? No. I did have a few thoughts that will come back to me. There's quite a bit that I'm thinking about here that needs to be added. I would say. But I wasn't sort of composing my thoughts properly, so I was still trying to because what I found very interesting was that the 3D camera actually shows that the stars are going below the ground, right, below the horizon, which is very interesting. So this we must be looking at some kind of outer shell of the torus field, yeah?
Well, the projection, from what I can see, Santos, is coming from them portals and returning back to them. If you listen to the description in the Book of Enoch, when he mentions the sun or the moon coming into our world, is ejected with a big ball of flame. You've seen exactly that in that webcam footage. Because Chris on here, he actually thought it was just a ball of gas. But if you look at the clock, it sits there for a couple of hours, then it wanders off towards Argentina. As a moonrise. So what it is, I'm not sure. It's something that floats down for a couple of hours and then wanders up into its orbit. I've no idea what it's made of.
Well, see, if this field is a split torus, and so as David, are you familiar with David Lapointe and his Prima fields?
Oh, not me.
David Lapointe, his torus is the split one, right? The top is blue and the bottom is a red. So the top part has a positivity to it, and or it's polarized, rather than the whole unified torus field that we're working with, which has one hyperboloid in the center, and then the donut torus shape is one field. Whereas in this field, it makes sense that our cosmos is split, I would say. And when we see the stars go down, basically goes below the horizon. I think it's going down towards the bottom of the field of energy, then coming back again the other way. See it, the stars going down below the horizon like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking myself, Santos, they're projected possibly from the outer 2 rings. I think the outer 2 were probably planetoid and stars. you know, somewhere in that region. It looks to me like there's definitely light flashes coming from behind the camera, which suggests there's some very bright objects very regularly being launched into the sky, which has got to be stars. So whatever it is, star-wise, is somewhere beyond.
Can I say something? When Chris was going through the stuff, when Chris was going through the stuff about the eclipse, he reckoned he could see the sun and all that. What do you call it? What you just said. What did you just say? Oh my god, it's gone out of my brain. Flickering sort of thing, didn't you, Chris? Chris.
Yeah, it's definitely the primer fields, and it's definitely the, hold it up here on the screen, like it's the point torus fields, or the primer fields.
So that's Series is doing the Series needs to mute. Series mute. Where's he gone? Oh, you'll have to just try and go for it, Chris. Sorry.
What FPV has there is the like the map looking kind of like down from the top down, right? And it's created and it's all in E8 lattice. That's why we see the sun. We were saying during the eclipse, it creates all these little points of light that converge at the center, and we're actually, in fact, within the center of like. So it's kind of rolling around on itself. It's a split torus like this here, right? So all energy comes in. They can launch it at the outside, so they could be outside, you know, doing the possible. I'm not sure if it could be, or somewhere handy that rim, and we're right in here, like that would be the ice ring type of area, and we're in the middle where it's calm point. The energy just folds back onto itself, back down through and comes in through.
1 second. Series, you need to mute yourself.
Back down underneath and rolls back.
Sorry, carry on.
So the center point here, if you consider that would be the neutral, where Iceland would be, or the Z, like the Z pinch, or the 0 point, Z pinch energy. So it kind of goes out and around. That's why we see, you know, the northern lights pulsing up of the north around Iceland. And the energy just folds back in. So you end up with a figure 8. And it just never stops. Like it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. It just keeps resetting itself. It's definitely what's going on for sure. I was going to show you what Santos was talking about the. I noticed in some, like I'm pretty familiar with Victor Schauberger's work and the Water of Life, Life Energy, Free Energy. I haven't got into Pierre a whole lot. I'm familiar with his work, but not in detail. I did notice that in some of his diagrams, the coils around a Faraday cage in a plant growing on the inside. He set up a negative field around the plant to assist with its drawing of water and nurturing of the plant. And I found it quite fascinating that the Ancients have the same diagram in some of their glyphs, right? So in the plant growing up the center, the tree of life with the curve, right? So I think it's important that somehow everybody kind of pulls together these things, and we got to start teaching ourselves how to go back and do it that way. Like just be the change that we have to be, right? We've got to get out of this system because it's a dying system. It sounds kind of desperate. That's my opinion on it, right?
Yeah.
We got to go back and learn it the right way and teach each other, and then carry the knowledge. I mean, us old fogies, I'm pushing 50, so I mean, we got to start teaching the youngsters and go back and lay some new seed, or it's game over, I think.
Well, now what we can see we're dealing with, we can see there's plenty of free energy. There's a huge energy source right in the centre there.
Right.
It seems to be emanating from Greenland.
Yeah.
There's technology, guys, the technology in the firmament are generating electricity. So, there's no shortage of power. We're just not sure how to harness it.
Yeah. I think the smart approach would be to learn it on the micro scale, like trying to like take on the entire system and tap into it, and past you'd never get away with it. But just discreetly trying to teach each other how to do it on a small scale and be self-sufficient.
Yes.
Just little tiny communities and groups, like teach each other how to make a saltwater battery, how to grow plants using a negative ion field to increase your production, germinate seeds.
Well, the survival skills, yeah.
Yeah.
My son's actually been buying a lot of the books just in case, because
I got a friend here in Canada. His name's Rob in the Page family. He's from out west. I never had a chance to talk to him in person, but he's got a great book called Graduating Life with Honors. But he's doing it, right? He's off the grid. He's growing his own stuff. He's all solar. He's completely unplugged.
His only enemy now then is chemtrails, isn't it? Ruining things.
Well, he went against the crown and won on more than one occasion. So you're right. His only enemy now is the chemtrail. So it's doable.
Yes, I think what we need to
I
do.
wonder if cloudbusters would actually work against chemtrails. I've seen a lot about it, but never actually in practice myself.
Well, we could technically start to filter out, like take down the barium. If they're spraying the barium, then we can take it down and filter it and turn it back into energy through a polymer electric membrane. Right. Like use the barium and the aluminum that they're spraying as to coat our dielectric diodes and plates to make our own battery. Just defeat them by undermining them, right? They usually can use their own technology against them.
And see, there's a thing I'm thinking about.
Series, mute yourself.
Sorry.
Sorry. Series is running a lot of stuff, and he's running Blender and stuff, so it makes a bit of a funny noise. Hey, carry on. Sorry, who was speaking?
Just saying that, see, my big worry, when you start finding out things what I have with these blueprints, you can now see what their agenda is. World domination, take over the energy grids everywhere, and live like kings, enslave humanity, which is what they've done. The United Nations, the EU, it's the same people. These are Nazis that infiltrate and destroy from within, run off and keep the gold. This is what they've always been doing. Because no matter which scripture you look at, scripture, and it's always for a future generation regarding energy. And you name it, it's all to do with energy. About.
Well, the only way to defeat them is to go back to the Christ consciousness and do it the way Christ did it, right? And just unplug.
I think Satan now,
keep their gold coin and walk away.
Yeah. I think Satan now is something that energy-wise is it will corrupt you. Be careful. Power corrupts. That's how you control the world. They can mess around with sun, moons, Saturn's, anything they want. Worry. That's what I'm trying to say. You start picking up. There's a message here to pass on, possibly for a future generation. Just flat Earth. That's what I've read into it. I've now become like a messenger. I've found this. I know what they're doing. I'm going to have to leave a message. That's kind of where I'm at. Because when you look at CERN in Europe, just for creation, as in putting things into the sky, it can be used for destruction. Volcanoes, they're probably responsible for volcanoes. Charge of one. Probably like, I think me and Chris agree on this now, that the surface, the positives are the creating volcanoes and such, and the negatives are creating craters off the moon. You can probably trace the destruction in their paths, and could be used for destruction. very severe destruction, and look unaccountable for it. You put that, you project that image over water, spin them circles up fast. You've got a tornado. You've got raging seas. You could probably create a tsunami with it if used in.
Well, I know you can for a fact because I worked for the company that did 9/11, and that's how they did it. Right? I've seen the plans myself.
Yeah, so it's very real. The dangers involved.
Yeah, well, HARP just projects it up, then the towers bring it down, and they tie it into the dielectric. The tornado was coming in, and bang, Bob's your uncle, right?
Well, their signature is the flower of life. So if you see the flower of life out there causing destruction, you know there's some technology down below responsible. And you also now know who's running it and playing around with it. Because that's what CERN's doing. They probe in the skies with it, trying to find its bearings. In 2011, when they first started it up, it was reported as a failure, put down to a faulty GPS. Now, what do you need a GPS for if you're just smashing dust particles in a circle into the skies, making a mess everywhere, lighting things up in the sky, biblically described? Yeah, the warnings are in the sky. If you see changes and things going on in the sky you shouldn't be seeing, it's someone playing around with technology, and this is what CERN's doing. In chemtrails. Around, once they've got it zeroed, then the worry begins, because they've lied what it's for, so it's got to be for destruction.
Well, that part we probably can't stop. I mean, you can't stop not much with a small amount of people can do their change unless the entire population rises at once, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, Chris. If people
The Bible is
going on with these blueprints, they should
prophecy.
on straight away what's going on.
All the prophecies coming out already, just like it's gonna happen anyway. It becomes only a choice of on which side you actually end up. At the particular part is just your personal choice in what you do, or for the most low.
See, I regard my mission as leaving a message of what I will look like for a future generation should they start the destructive path, which I think they're going to. You know, you don't sneak around in the background wasting billions of dollars on smashing dust particles, lying to the public, blatantly lying. They've got plans in mind. The globalists, you know, it's corrupted them. You can see what's happened. The prophecy seekers found these areas that took over them to create the globe, to stop people looking for the corners, lie about everything, dumb you down, kill you with vaccines, everything they can hit you with. They do. It's all to hide a lie. So people recognize what this video is, ones that work for them, but don't realize why they work for them.
Well, that's why I quit.
Because that's what they're hiding. You know, you can see it there.
Why I never started. Never the whole system.
The point is, if I can get this video out en masse when I release it, people can grab that image on a phone, write it down, draw it, tattoo it, whatever you want, make sure it exists and gets passed around. So it is.
Have you ever heard of Ian Lungold? He had lectures about how the Maya calendar worked, about its whole Keen calendar. I wonder if you have ever seen that.
Yep, I certainly have, and I remember the day he passed. It was not long after I was aware of him, and it was in early 2008, I think. But he explained how the real evolution, which is the spiritual evolution of this cosmos, occurred, according to the Mayans. And I think he must have upset some people, because the rumor is that he was put out of action.
Yeah. Very apparent. As soon as I found this information, and I think not long after that, I discovered he was actually killed. In my idea, he was killed. He saw as a very healthy man, and yeah. Well, so far the information brought me to that particular book, what is still online, where you can actually find your life's journey, where you came for as a particular moment of birth. Yeah, that was years ago that I've seen that, and then eventually now I'm actually doing that particular job. Never realizing how or why it got to that in that sense, but where I discovered that those descriptions are the same as the astrological part, kind of orchestrating your life and how you go through it. And one way it is predetermined, but in the other way, it's still a self choice in free will. What is free will? If you ask me, free will is a will what wants nothing. As a will wants something, it is bound to what it has to do. In that sense, and being the nobody in that sense, because only the Most High is the one what exists.
So what do you guys think is the best mode of action? Like, what's the next step for action? Is it to start another underground secret society type of thing, and you share the information and kind of just go off grid on our own, or do you try to put it out there on that? Like Santos has tried to do that first, and you're met with, and in cases even ridicule, and like you said, these scientists are just off if they get too close to the devil's teeth, right? You just murdered anyway. You try to bring free energy to the people, and they just go after you and kill you. Like, I'm just wondering, what do you think is the best actionable things?
Me, I think get the message out, try and save as many as possible, maybe even hurt it. I don't know how ready they are to strike, but it looks like they've got something planned to me. I'm rushing the video a bit, but there's not much left to do on it. I think, look, be prepared, because once they see it, they'll either take it down quick, initiate some other plan, which they've got planned anyway. They might just accelerate it. So it's hard to say, Video, what happens? Because they're not going to get away with it. If my video leaves a message for someone in the future, it's mission accomplished.
Yeah, if you ask me, it's a big waste to work on destroying the old, and just best would be actually put all the energy into building new. Oops. And
Basically,
sorry. Yeah, sorry. I lost my.
sorry, series, that's my fault.
Well, the new temple is being built. We're building the new structure forward. We've got syncretism. We have geocentrism. These are the most important things. How to syncretize all fields of knowing, and that's what syncretism does. We have the ability with syncretism to understand the languages of science, whether it be astrology, chemistry, physics, chemistry. All of it is one. Everything is interconnected, and this is our religion. This is our religion. This sense of intelligence, this truth, which is light in its purest, most pure form, non-vibratory, and we are building this structure. We have the off-the-grid mindset. We have the spiritual mindset. We acknowledge the creator and the higher consciousness. We acknowledge our true cosmos. We have the intelligence to see it. We are doing and practicing is the new temple. And so as many people join it, the sooner the other one will just disappear into irrelevance. It's now becoming irrelevant because many nations are wanting different systems from this, petrodollar, perpetual war, military industrial debt machine. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for them. They're getting poorer and poorer. They're getting richer materially, because they're controlling more stuff. But getting poorer and poorer because they've got more wars to fight, more fronts are opened up. The whole cosmos is turning against them, exposing these nasty cockroaches, and their dirty deeds, their evil child killing, people trafficking deeds. They work on the principle of bloodshedding and wars and fear. That's the only way they can get to control anything. They can't do it with love. And let's just keep building that temple, expose them, and illuminate others with the truth.
Yeah,
Very inspirational. Yeah.
Many words.
It's hard. It's hard to stay positive, but I think that's what we're going to do. Is I agree. Focus on the positive. Passive aggressive. Avoid the violence if it comes. Be ready for it if it does, but avoid it if we can't. I agree. And just become the new paradigm and just let that one die. Let it eat its own tail and just forget about it. Yeah. Tricky business, though, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, we have a war with the spirit of darkness of the air, says the Apostle Paul. What does that mean? Well, it's a spiritual warfare. There are entities that want to take up and use our energy, and so we have to put on the complete suit of armor to fight against them. It's a war against the principalities. He uses that expression. Well, in astrology and in ancient theology and cosmology, there are other realms above us. There are thrones, principalities, powers, archangels, angels, seraphim. There are many orders of spiritual hierarchy and structure, loving and protecting structure. But some of the principalities, the archons, have gone their own way. Okay, so they wavered from their original mission, who are commissioned to bring the truth back. Do not waver. And so, come what may. All right, so we get killed. Well, many martyrs and of our brothers in the past have been persecuted and murdered. We're in this material realm. We will, being temporal, we will perish. In this timeline, we will leave it. So, do we leave in glory, or do we as cowards? Do we leave as heroes, or do we leave as slaves of the system? And so, we have to take on this glorious, put on the suit of armor and take on this glorious war and win. It's a war against ignorance. Truth is the ultimate principle that we serve. and from there come all the attributes and of light. So there's a beautiful illustration in the Bible where the enemy of God's people came and surrounded the city, and they were starving, and so mothers were eating their children, and all kinds of misdeeds were going. And so some beggars that were the gates of the city, they started to talk amongst each other and say, well, you know, the enemy is outside, and here we are dying of famine anyway, and our own people are killing us inside the city. So what the heck? Why don't we just go out and die in the camp of our enemy? Either way, they're going to die, right? So here they are, begging, you know, with one missing a limb and one missing an arm, and they're hopping along into the camp of the enemy. And as they got deep into the camp, they realized, as they got deep into the camp, they realized that the enemy was gone. And so they quickly rushed back to tell the city that you know, they're starving for nothing. There's no enemy out there. And so this is the effect that the Hegelian dialectic is trying to cause on this plane. They're trying to cause a problem, then a reaction, then a solution. And so they are trying to make a boogeyman out there. And really, if we think about it, they've put us in the city, and we're starving to death, killing each other. And whereas we should be saying, well, all right, let's go outside and see these enemies and let them kill us face to face and see what they're really made of. And we'll find that they're made of nothing. You know, they actually don't exist. The ignorance really doesn't exist. We buy into it. And it's been pummeled into us through indoctrination and mind control and torture, really. But it's trauma. It's trauma-based. And, you know, when you think back in the 60s growing up, I remember there was the Vietnam War. The Korean War had just ended. It was the Cold War. Then there was the nuclear threat. Then there was extinction through pollution and global warming. And now there's terrorism. And it's just the Inquisition taking on its different, you know, hues and colors so that it can adapt to our consciousness and to try and snuff it out. And so we just have to face that enemy, and we'll find that he's not there. And we win, as we wrote in the script.
Yeah, will they stand there or will they run like cowards? You know, you can see what they're going to do. They want to go on trial for the greatest mass murders in history, because that's what they're going to be known in history as.
Yeah, already there's been a lot of revelations and disclosures and exposures of the violent, bloody deeds of these conquistador families who have conquered all the lands and brought slavery and misery to. I would like to quote Tacitus. He wrote 2,000 years ago thereabouts. He said, "The Romans are deadly pillagers of the world. They have exhausted the earth by their indiscriminate plunder. A rich enemy excites them, their lust for wealth. A poor one, their craving for power. Robbery and rape they call government. They make a desert that's empire. The Romans, deadly pillagers of the world, you see, lusts know no end. A rich enemy excites their power, their craving for power, their lust for wealth. And the poor one, they're craving for power. They crave power over them. And the rich enemy, Iran, Syria, sovereign states, Libya, that excites their lust for wealth. This is a demon empire. It's demonic. It's the Antichrist, which means before, not against. Ante in Greek means before. Anti-meridian, AM. It's before the meridian of midday. Post-meridian is after the meridian, PM. So the Antichrist is the darkness before the light. And so, the Gentile times of the nations will have their end. And when those Gentile times end, then begins the paradise on earth, the millennia. And so, but these Nephilim have to be vanquished. These are Nephilim bloodlines. These are demonic bloodlines. And so the Windsors come from the Guelphs, who come from the Orsinis, who come from the ancient Julio-Claudian dynasties of the Nephilim. They consolidate power all over the poor, or in other words, the ignorant ones. And they have to be vanquished, and they will be.
Kind of Revelations time when you look at it on that scale. We're there. We're right there now.
Yeah, it's the apocalypse. It's the unfolding.
Yeah, it really is. And people are so asleep. Flat Earth, they're waking up slowly to it. Not quick enough, I think, but then again, I could be wrong. Because when you look on the YouTube channels now, they're just everywhere, Flat Earth videos. So, it is spreading rapidly. Are they going to see the connections and what the grand lies behind it? Oh, it is flat. That's what I'm looking at. What's that down there? What are they hiding? The scale of that thing below it. So they're probably down there looting and plunder it daily. Chiseling things off, rebadging it, whatever they do, reverse engineering it. The wealth that it generates. How annoying is that?
Yeah, look, we've exhausted this timeline. That's what's happening. It's not an implosion. Well, in a sense, you can describe it how you wish, but it's a temper. It's a temporal timeline. Okay, temp is time. Time is Chronos. Chronos is Saturn. Saturn is Satan. Satan is magnetricity, or John Miwelski calls it that. He's a wonderful genius in his 90s, talking about how magnetism is so much more etherealized than electricity, and it's a spiritual force. And this timeline is magnetism creates magnitude. It is the temporo-spatial bubble that we live in, and we've come to the end of it. We've exhausted its potentials. We've explored them all. We've done the full circle. We've created harmful technology. We've created harmless technology. We've dabbled in darkness. We're now dabbling in the light. And so we've had our soul's journey, through the cycle of necessity, where we've seen our sufficiency, and we've been satiated with the material transverse wave expression. And so we now wish to be freed of it. That's true freedom, true sovereignty, is to have no real desires to own things, molecules, transient molecules called houses and land and properties and fenced off, partitioned, ownership of things. that will just cease to exist. We will use free energy, and we won't need to hoard it anymore and control it, because we'll know how to get it free. So no one will say, buy my electricity. We'll do a cheaper deal for you than the other guy. We're a much better supplier than, come with us. Well, we're just going to lose that grid, because we're going to acquire our senses to communicate telepathically, and we're going to have the Christ return, that Christ consciousness, where we won't need the services of Rome anymore. They're all redundant anyway. They're all services you don't need. When a policeman tries to engage you in a contract by, pulling you into his jurisdiction through his copyrighted crown right surname, he's just playing along in that and trying to harm sovereign people and free people. We can have the power to just ignore that system. And when they see that we have this power, that their magic and curses and spells don't work on us, and which they're starting to see. This is why they're retaliating with tasers and imprisonments of our sovereign brothers who are waking up. Well, eventually their tasers won't work either, and their guns will be bulletproof. Consciousness will defeat this plague that has infested our plane.
Santos, you said in one of your hangouts that the sun is in, like, the way the cycles of the sun go, it goes through all the astrological, and at the moment it is in the spiritual one, so it's got to go down to the bottom. I was just wondering what was happening with the skies January 2016, when a lot of people did wake up. Something must have moved into something for these people, for us all to wake up. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
You'll have to say it again, please, because you broke up so badly. Maybe someone needs to mute that hasn't, and just give it another go.
What I was saying was, you said in one of your hangouts with us that the sun goes in cycles and it goes through all the star signs, and right now it's in the crown of the head. It's the spiritual. It's the last one before it goes back to the bottom and starts again through Aries, coming all the way up, or wherever it is, to the top. But I was just wondering, what do you think happened? There must have been something happening for so many people to wake up January last year, because that's when a lot of us woke up. Because I've been looking at the times people woke up, about January. But I was just wondering what was in the sky, what all the things transitioning and stuff like that. I was just wondering, did you see anything there? Because so many people woke up.
Well, the big event was Uranus. Uranus in Aries. He's been there since 2011. In fact, when the Japanese tsunami happened, I think that was the day Uranus entered Aries. Okay, so 2011. So what is going on is Uranus is an 84. Pay attention to that number, year orbit, and 12 of those comes to 1,008 years. So we have another number, 108. That's the Krishna number. It's the Christ number. 108 is a very processional centered number, and it is in fact the true timekeeper of the cosmos is Uranus, the firmament. Okay, Uranus is the firmament. Saturn, the sun of Uranus, is the timekeeper, 30 years, which is one generation, on Earth, in the material world of Satan. Okay, so but his father Uranus, 84, which is the average lifespan of the human being currently, he is the true timekeeper, because his 12 revolutions come to 1,000 years. Scriptures speak of God in the heavens as one day with God is 1,000 years with men. Well, see, to answer your question, it's hinging on Uranus. Uranus is the revolutionary planet, and Aries is the top of the head, the cerebrum. Aries is the first sign, starts at March the 21st. So, and the spiritual sign Aries is the priest sign, the Lamb of God. And Libra opposite on the other equinox that we're coming to in a few weeks, that is also the other priestly sign of balance. The equinoctial signs, tropical signs, are priestly, and the solstitial signs ruled by Capricorn, the goat, Cancer and Capricorn, the wave amplitude, the tropics, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, these are the material, sovereign, kingly signs. In astrology, they define the king, and the priest is defined in Aries. Now, so the Lamb of God is the equinox, the ruler of the equinoctial axis, and the goat on the left is Capricorn ruling the solstices. Okay, so currently Pluto is in Capricorn, and it is squaring with Uranus. Now, when these squares happen, Capricorn is the 10th sign, which resolves to 1. Aries is the first sign, which is the original 1. This is the secret of the lamb and the goats, okay? But Capricorn is cardinal earth, Aries is cardinal fire. It's a spiritual sign, it's the cerebrum. Capricorn rules the most dense part of the body. There are 12 systems in the body: the respiratory, the skeletal, the cerebrospinal. Okay, each sign rules one of those. Aries rules the cerebrospinal system. So it's the God system, it's the heavenly system. It is the messenger. The nervous system gives all the messages to the rest of the body. It's the tree of life in the body, in the Garden of Eden, which is your anatomy. Okay, little torus fields. And so when Pluto, the destroyer and the the transformer, squares 90 degrees with Uranus, the revolutionary and unconventional energy in Aries, what's going on is the king and the priest, Aries and Capricorn, are being there is tension. It is tension. This is in astrology. This is where wars occur, where transformative energy, a pushing kind of an energy, abrasive, is happening. Stress, friction, dis-ease, disharmony. Whereas a 90 degree, a trine, 120 degrees, and that would be more soft. That is a harmonious aspect in astrology. That would be between signs of the same element, like Aries to Leo. That's a beautiful, harmonious energy. But Capricorn and Aries, no, that's earth and fire. They conflict. And planets as strong as Pluto and Uranus in them are dynamics which cause a certain kind of result, you know. And the result is that people are waking up as kings and priests and air sense. And so that's what's going on. And Uranus is the true timekeeper. So every 1,000 years, see, 1,008 years is the true, they talk about a processional month, 2,160 years, right? Because the processional year is 25,920 years. That's the cycle of precession of the equinoxes. Well, I beg to differ. It's exactly, the processional cycle is exactly 24,000 years, as Sri Yukta, the guru of many, like Paramhansa, Yogananda Paramhansa, he taught that the processional cycle is exactly 24,000 years when corrected. So 25,920 years gives you a processional month of 2,160 years. I beg to differ. It's a Uranus cycle, which is 2018 years, because 1008 times 2 is 2018. And so from 4 BC, when they say Christ was born, to 2012, that is exactly 2016 years. So 4 BCE, they give to the Christ, which was really Jupiter, Zeus, the ruler of Pisces, which began, see, because the astrologers are good timekeepers. And Pisces ended in 2012 and Aquarius began. That is exactly 2016 years, which is 84-year orbits of Uranus, the firmament. The firmament is the timekeeper, guys. And it's the 84-year revolution of the firmament to the sun that gives us the true timekeeping system of 1008 years. That's why Krishna's number is 108. It's the number of the japa beads. The Catholic rosary has 54, which is a half of 108. And of course, you are awakened enough, you know how important 108 is, okay? It is a very, very important universal number. And it's pinned to those 12 revolutions of the Uranus firmament. And that's 1008 years, and 24 of those is 2016 years, which gives you the full age of a precessional month. Pisces began at 4 BCE and ended in 2012. And Neptune also harmonizes to that. 6 revolutions of Neptune rounds off to a perfect 1008. Saturn, I think you need about 48, somewhere around 60 revolutions of Saturn, and you come to a perfect rounded out 108 years. And the other one that does that is, so Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto rounds closely, not perfectly, but Pluto is a 248. 248 by 248 gives you 496, which is just under 1,000 years. So Pluto's a little bit out of sync. The dome is out of sync with the crystalline sea Neptune, and out of sync with the firmament Uranus, and out of sync with Saturn, which they are all in harmony. Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune that round off to 1008 years. And hence the enigma of the millennia, where great poets like Virgil wrote in his 4th eclogue that when Saturn returns in the age of Aquarius, there will be 1,000-year millennia. There will be paradise on earth. That what the Bible calls the millennium, because Uranus will be in a much better state, a more ethereal, and when Aquarius is fully in bloom, Uranus will bring about, the firmament will bring about like a golden age, and we are transiting what's called the dragon's breath. You know, it's like a photon belt. You know, in the heliocentric model, they call it a photon belt. And that's the only way I can describe it. But it's only got to do with the firmament. It's got nothing to do with outer space. And we're going through that place. It's the alignment of Aquarius and Leo. You know, at the vernal and autumnal equinoxes, and it's Leo is the lion of the tribe of Judah. The scepter shall not depart from that tribe, because when Leo and Aquarius line up at the equinoxes, that comes the golden age, because the element of Leo is the sun rules there, and the sun's element is gold. So it's the golden age. We are in it. It's just that we don't get to benefit from it because the parasites have not let go. once they are conquered, then paradise will be just, instantly.
Really can't wait.
Yes, well, it sounds better than the misery you're in right now with the living dead out there. You know, it's really upsetting when it's your own family and they're all the living dead. And the more you wake up, the more dead they look. The more dead they are. Anyway, that was brilliant. Thanks, Santos.
Yeah, let the dead bury the dead. When the would-be follower of Jesus said, "Lord, let me come and follow you," and Jesus said, "Well, sell all your belongings and follow me." And he was grieved at heart. He said, "Well, hang on, but I'm a Jew, and we have a tradition. While your parents are still alive, you have to stay with them until they die, and then you can bury them, and then you can follow your master. Then you can you go, but you fulfill your earthly duties." And Jesus turned around and said, "Let the dead." And then in another parable, it speaks about how the dead shall rise. I mean, miracles, he said, "Do not marvel at this. The hour is coming when all will hear the voice of my Father, and the tombs shall be opened, and they shall rise." Well, the tomb is your anatomy. When you stand erect with your arms outstretched horizontally, because it is a tomb. You come from a womb into a tomb, which is your body, and then the womb, the tombstone is in the shape of a womb, and your all caps name on there indicating that you are kaput, dead, indicates that the anatomy is the tomb that the dead shall rise from. In other words, the walking dead, the somnambulant zombies who are feasting on, for instance, the carcasses of dead animals. This is not our way. Humans were not designed to eat dead corpses. And so we are following, by education, we have been taught by these archons who are controlling the mechanisms of government that, all of these lifestyles are good for us. Well, they're not. They're causing us harm. And so what we are doing is we are walking around as somnambulant. And so until such time as we awaken as we have, arisen and heard the Master calling, and come out of the tomb of sleepfulness. And sleepfulness is the state of believing that you are that corporate name. On one sense, people are going to jail as surety for that corporate enterprise of the Vatican. And so this is blasphemous to God. He does not want his children to suffer in the land of, exile. Once they were in Egypt, and then they were delivered by Moses. Once they were in Babylon, exiled, and then they were delivered by Cyrus, Osiris, that is, the king of Persia. And then Esther and Mordecai were enslaved again in the Persian Empire, and then God, delivered the Jews from Persia. And so what is this saying? Well, the fourth captivity is the captivity of Rome, according to the Jews. And now they are captives in Rome, the morphed Babylon the Great. And so what does this mean? Well, it means that we're on the slave ship of citizenship, of the birth certificate. And so, we've been led captive by that and its debt usury system, which is attached to it. And so we are funding and supporting this demon, an egregore, which is designed to live off the interest of our blood and sweat. We need to slay Goliath.
Absolutely.
That's the beast we've been following as humanity. Same as Revelation 12 describes. Beast after beast.
Gotta put the sword through the head of the Hydra, that's for sure.
I noticed I was going, People on the Hangouts notice I go, when I'm listening. So it was a big, Thank you for that, Santos. I know, I just
Yeah,
take
you have to watch when you
Carry on.
you have to watch when you ask me a question, because it does take a long time to answer questions properly. A long time. That's why it might appear that I'm dragging it out and making something short really long, but there's a lot to add. You've got to have the perspective of syncretism. If you have the right perspective, then you can explain all things. There's nothing that we can't explain. It's all the science of, field of rotating magnetism. And that's how God works always on every plane. That is the energy of consciousness. That is the universal mind thinking. That's who we are. And there's only one way to model energy and express it. It's zodiacally. It's astrology. Astrology has mapped out the field of energy. It's mapped out the toroidal field. In fact, can I share something with you about how the Hebrews knew this? I want to share a short video if I can.
Yeah, sure.
Antenna, okay.
I'd like to add, it takes a whole circle to explain the point in the middle.
Yeah. I'll have to share my screen. There's a scholar called Stan Tenen. Dance of the Hebrew alphabet, Hebrew. And what he explains is how the Jews saw the cosmos as a big apple, a big torus field. Okay, so he has actually an apple, and I will show you as I share my screen. So first thing I need to do, oh, this is a different thing. How do I share screen now? Oh, share screen, application window. Now, can you see this?
Not, yes.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll just start playing it around about the 4-minute mark. He's got an apple that he has modeled in 12ness, and he shows how the cosmos is an apple. The apples of Apollo, and Apollo is a field.
Hand is once we had drawn these lines, which represent the edges of a particular kind of knot, which we'll get later in the tape if we have time, or on a supplementary tape, it can be very much like a kind of bowling ball. Down into the middle, you could grasp between each of these edges, and it would look, if I can display it for the camera, and remember my thumb is going into the middle. And what I'm saying is that each of these regions here would be a hand. Plus there'd be 3 hands. Shortly from here, there's three hand-shaped sections. 4 fingers in each one, the thumb in the middle. There'd be 12 fingers around the perimeter. 12 tribes around the star, the tabernacle, if you'd like. In other traditions, there are 12 apostles, there are 12 knights around the round table, there are 12 imams of Shia Islam, there are 12 houses to the zodiac. There are a whole number of 12 around 1 forms. And in the middle, of course, if we were to open it, this disc, well, but the disc is the flat earth. This is where, I'll put it inside, and you can see the hand in there. Put the hand inside. This disc becomes the earth. There's the sun. This is the heavens, the dome. Our model, again, is a model hand. Now, why a model hand? Back to the
Now you see this little tree here. I'll just go back to this here is the torus field, guys. This here he has chopped. This is the tree in the center of the garden of the apple. This is the apple core. He has cut a cross section of the torus field, which is an apple, an egg. You know, the top part is phi, the bottom is 1. That's the ratio. And this is the center, and it is how the hand works. And as you can see, it's the scabbard. It's also the scabbard of a sword. So watch this.
This disk becomes the earth. There's the sun. This is the heavens, the dome. And what we've got in our model, again, is a model hand. Now, why a model hand? Get back to the discussion. The hand, the human hand, form that is automatically possible to be visualized by human beings. Even a child, even a blind person can see their own hand. Eyes. You can try it right now with me on the camera. Just close your eyes and point towards something. Move your fingers any way you'd like. Move your hand any way you'd like. You can see where your hand is pointing. There, I'm saying how. Well, I know that my fingers are up and my thumb is pointing this way, etc. And when I open my eyes, I see it's correct. Hands. Now, since the letters are shadows of this model hand, as I tip my hand, the letters.
Okay, what he's talking about is that thing that he designed. If you shine a light at it and you cast the shadow onto a wall, you will get all 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. It is the core of the hyperboloid tree center of every field. And as it scribes around and precesses, according to Ken Wheeler, these are reciprocating precessional hyperboloid torus fields. Okay, so reciprocating and precessional, they precess because precession is fixed into the energy field. It's called the Lemur frequency, or electromagnetic retardation. What he's showing us is that the hand is very special to mankind. In fact, that's why in Latin it's called mano, you know, to maneuver, manipulate, manufacture, manage, manacles, and what man does is with his hand, because the hand is actually the hand is torus field. So when you point to people, you are actually sending energy, a toroidal vortex ahead of you, and it is charging it and carrying it through the cosmos, and you are actually casting spells. You're sending forth your goodness and you're sending forth your curses at the same time, on your intent. And so the hand is actually the middle of the apple, which is a torus field. The thumb is the center. That's why the thumb is and the pinky, the little finger, is the earther, the two polarities. And the other three fingers, they are air, water, and fire, right? So your 5 fingers correspond to the 5 elements. But you see how we are gifted with our minds and our hands, which both have the word man in them. Manus is mind in Sanskrit, and mano in Latin is the hand. So man is defined by his mind and his mano. And because of the torus energy. And so here we can see that there is, when we looked at Rob graphics before, I could see the apple. I could see the apple of Apollo, and I could see and I could see all of them, everything, all at once. You know, all the dimensions are there. You can see, okay? And there are shapes that support them are there. in those graphics, because follow those grid lines. You're following nature. You can't go wrong. Nature always reveals herself when you listen to her and follow her.
Thank you for that, Santos.
Thank you for that, Santos.
Yeah.
It's amazing the synchronicity of it all. Really, you just sparked a thought in my mind. I can share you this might blow your mind. There's I took last year. It has to do with the apple
Oh,
and
yeah.
light. See my screen there? If I share it.
Does make me think also about Itzhak Bentov with From Atom to Cosmos, in where he explained the Hebrew alphabet in order in the left side as a light, and then in disorder at the top of the whole system of the universe. The universe in that sense. But then the Hebrew word sees frequency forms, so he told about at least how we perceive everything.
It all goes back to light. My screen there, Santo? I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, sure can. The sun in the middle of that beautiful tree, yeah?
Yeah, so this is an apple tree just outside the house here. That, see it, the shape looks like a heart in the center of the tree. Series of photos. The heart formed an apple, and you start to see all these little circles. It's similar to what we saw in the eclipse here. Then the next picture I zoomed in, vortex in the heart of the tree. In this photo here, you can see it's a vortex inside of the tree. Made it out of light.
That's amazing. That's a lovely photo, that.
Yeah, there's the vortex of light, right, spinning through the center of the tree. Right. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. When I looked at those pictures, yeah.
That was for you, that, Chris.
It was just telling me about the app. I was like, yeah. It's awesome, yeah. Yeah, I really like that.
Well, it depends where you focus your intelligence to the shapes that are there. You will see the egg, you will see the apple, you will see all of the Merkaba in all of its glory as you to see. You'll not be shown these things if you are unworthy. This is the holy nature of reality, and although the apples of Apollo or Allah, they are the trees. See, the trees is nothing but a torus tree, and its bole, the hyperboloid, the hourglass tree, is the Yggdrasil tree, which is the hyperboloid. Bole, arbol, in Latin means tree, arbol. So bole is that tori. It's also your spinal column and the center of your torso. Okay, and your torso comes from the uterus of your mother, yes, and that's the shape of it is also like the bull, the Taurus. So when you look at the body in every way, you look at how it is built, and you'll see 10s and 12s everywhere. Okay, 12 cranial nerves, 12 systems in the body, 10 fingers, and these two numbers amount to 22, which are all the letters of the Hebrew alphabet and the amino acids and, you know, phenomena dealing with nature. Okay, so where does the 10 come from? Well, the 10 spheres are the spheres we live in, which is the concentric spheres of Kabbalah and astrology, which is the geocentric Ptolemy model before Copernicus. It was a system of 10 spheres. So if I share my screen again, I'll show you exactly what I mean. Can you see my PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah.
There?
Yep.
So what we have here is the Kabbalistic tree. Here is ether at the top, Kether, ether, Kuth. This is the earth. And so these are the 10 spheres, you see. So what happens is we've got Venus, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. And so you see here, this is the earth element, the ether, and it's the spinal column, because there are 7 tiers here. 2, 1, it's a polarized one. This one's the 4th one's polarized, the 6th one's polarized, and the 7th one. These are our 7 chakras. In Revelation, this is the 7-headed beast with 10. The reason why those 10 horns, those are the 10 spheres. Our souls are projected from this point here. This is the causality. This is the spatial realm, and then it through 10 conditions, 10 spheres, and then he is given to the organism, and so it is a 10-fold beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. And that is your chakra system, the 7. So here we have, 10 and 12, the 12 cranial nerves and the 10 fingers. This is how our bodies work. Also, you see that the 12 petals, the solar plexus has 10. Plexus represents the material body, 10, and the heart chakra and everything upward, 12. That number separates the body, and everything upward, chakra, the indigo and the ultraviolet down here, it's expressed in 12. It's divine. 12 is a divine number. 10 is an earthly, mundane number. And so that is by our very own bodies. Our very own bodies are telling us this. And this is the Metatron. I was talking about this before. The Metatron, it's a manifestation template. And this is Atron is Aton, which is Adam. Met-Adon. So this is the Adam Kadmon. And we are simply just little Adam Kadmons, because we are all children of Adam, because we are all Adamites with anatomies. Adam is the atom. Here is the Merudanda. Isn't it interesting how the spinal column is called Meru, like Meru, Mount Meru? It's in the middle. These are all the planes in which creation occurs. And we are now in the heart chakra. Heart is an anagram for earth. It's where earth is. It's in the heart of God. Since we are in God's heart, earth, and in one sense we are under his dome of the cranium in Aries. The cranium, Aries is in the head, and Leo is in the heart. And the lion motif. It's funny how churchgoers say, oh, astrology and all those, what a demonic science. And yet they call their savior a lamb, They're being saved daily by a lion. a goat, you know, the scapegoat of Israel. Fancy that, you know, they bow down to a lamb. They don't get it. You see, when it comes to hypocrisy and churches, they're one and the same thing.
Santos, you know that picture of the human there when you on the page before? There was the spine, and then one of the pictures looks like stars I've taken with the wings on it. Like when the picture comes out, it looks like it's got like kind of like wings on it, like a bit like it looks like it's got wings on it when you actually take the picture. And that picture before you were showing, could you go back one? Yeah, see the human on the right?
Oh yeah.
The second one down on the human on the right. I've
Yeah.
got pictures of stars looking like that.
Are you talking about the sphenoid bone?
Yeah, I was just saying there's a picture of the spine and it had little pictures next to it. And then the second one down had a picture of what looked like stars that I'd taken myself. I can't get them out now because it takes too long to find them, but I'll try and find them and show you. Just when they come out on the camera. There, that one. The second one down on the right. Oh, it's gone. Bet you Series loves all those, don't you, Series? Those pictures. Yeah, the second one down, I've just got stars looking like that.
I'm showing also the Tree of Life in my own map of how I actually found it. What I saw is the Tree of Life uses 3 circles of the Flower of Life pattern.
Yeah.
And it is also built up with on the map. There you have the Flower of Life within the 3 squares, where you end up at the edge of the wave at the bottom, and on the top you have not something like in the wave itself. I don't know what that particular wave is. But you can see that the elevation data is actually showing that structure of it is exactly within the 3 circles. The world itself is the same Tree of Life, the same kind of body on where we live as a body, like the Russian doll system, large body cycle.
Yeah. What we see now as our cosmos is out to sea. This is why we are being attacked by the mundane intelligent ones, because they can't see it. They, as Pierluigi Gina says, they follow and their senses are reversed. When you look in a mirror, image of your body. And he said when scientists see the road, they believe that it's the Earth spinning because that's what their senses tell them. They don't understand that the Earth is stationary and what is rotating is the solar magnetic field. The solar energy, he calls it. Says is this is the only problem that we have. We have materialists, science in reverse. Everything they see is in reverse. Everything. He says their whole life is reversed. That all of their processes, everything has been reversed on them. And they will not flip that polarity over until such time as they acknowledge the higher self, the Christ, until they are humble enough to subject themselves to the spiritual field, rather than being slaves of the material energy. They will always be deceived by their senses, says Igina. So we're seeing apples, we're seeing pyramids, we're seeing the flower of life. Others are not seeing it.
That's not how they look in
They get really angry too. I notice they get really angry and frustrated when you explain it to them and they still can't understand it. They get really agitated. You can actually feel it remotely. I felt like just feel the agitation.
Yes, because a materialist wants other bodies to be material, other conscious things. They can't conceive or can't contend with invisible intelligence, and yet their smartphones are online, and it's an isolated device which is getting intelligence from apparently the air instantaneously. You can download something from across the planet, thousands of miles away. That's intelligence. Invisible, because it's all pinned to the longitudinal wave. That's why. That's how technology can be so fast. The transverse wave is just not. It's only from the radio towers to your phone. But apart from that, everything else, optic fibers and that's all longitudinal, or at least it's the closest thing to it. There's no other way that all of this intelligent AI energy can be crisscrossing through those cables, unless it's all longitudinal. The capacitance of the longitudinal wave is untold. It's unlimited. There's no limits to it.
Yeah, who doesn't want glass fiber internet?
Yeah, the transverse wave only lasts a few hundred miles. It's just, it disintegrates. It's you look at sound. The anything hertz is travels a long way, but 20,000 hertz, it just disappears. It's the frequency just disintegrates, and you won't be able to hear it after a short distance. So same with light waves. The red ones travel and have a lot of lower capacitance, but at least longer reach. But the higher capacitance lights refract more and just quicker, and that's the transverse wave. And you see, they talk about the speed of light because they don't want to talk about the fact that true light, the field, there's speed limits. It's instantaneous reaction at a distance. It's instantaneous throughout the universe. And so that's why they keep talking about this 180,000 kilometers a second and the speeds and blah, 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 because these are the doctors of the transverse wave. They are the grid makers that sell you energy. They want you to buy into their electricity illusion, the god El, the god of illusions, electricity. So, these people just believe in the phenomena, of the material, acknowledge the creator and give him glory for producing it from his unlimited longitudinal power supply. They just can't watch him, because then they lose all their apparent, perceived power, which they don't have anyway. So, the evil ones thwart themselves in time. Just give them enough rope and they'll hang themselves eventually.
Mm.
Yeah, stop feeding them. Yeah, stop feeding them.
Yeah, I'm sure Series understands. We all understand that. It's like so much information sometimes. It's hard to... I think Santos will understand. Sometimes, Santos, people want to only watch, say, 30 seconds. And someone said, can't you cut all your information down into about 30 seconds? You think, how do you do that? It's just impossible. Because one thing leads on to the next thing, leads on to the next thing, leads on... You can't just do it in seconds. You can't.
That's exactly what happened, Karen. Every time I added something to it, I was learning something new. So I had that to explore, and then went to video and try and create. So yeah, it was like a knock-on effect. You learn more and you learn more, and that's the numbers are used to make up the Merkaba.
Right. So Santos might like this too. And basically the Nazca square, right? That you have there, a square of Mercury, as far as I can tell, which is based on the numbers 111, 122, and so forth. And follow the this is like the squares, the Masonic magic squares, and all that stuff. The square of Pompeii, which is like the Sator Sete Rotas square, Sator Rotor square. If it's based on 111 to 122 to the length of the lunar cycle, because it's also based on the actual cycle of the moon phases in years, 111, 122. That's the peaks of the lunar cycles and the temperatures, right, of the ice days, like the modern minimum I was talking about, cycles of the moon.
Yeah.
Cycle. And then if you go to the next step, I'll screen sharing that and share this other one. Basically full circle here. Where is the Hangout, so I can share that one. Yeah, there's my Hangout now.
Just share full screen this time, or?
I got too many screens open in here now. See?
Yeah, you probably have to stop and start the screen share again.
Yeah, but not particularly applications. So you can actually switch windows.
Yeah, the window, and I'm trying to figure out which one is showing that it has the actual Hangout in here.
So the numbers, Chris, I worked with them for a while because I was trying to figure out if it was some kind of firing order for the portals. I didn't actually trace them around. I was just trying to work out what in relation what they had to the portals, or was it something someone else just added? I couldn't figure it out at first, but once I drew, like I say, 1 to 28, I drew that on one side and then drew 29 to 64 on the other, and it created this Merkaba shape when you put them together. I thought, wow, I didn't expect that. Overlaid it over what I've got there.
Can't find my Hangout screen now. Where did it go?
Uh-oh.
How it's working in the numbers in the 111-year lunar cycle. If you go to the book of Genesis 5:12, it says, "And Canaan lived 70 years and begat Mahalaleel." I can't pronounce his name. And beget that name again, Mahalaleel, 840 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Canaan, right, Canaan and Abel, were 910 years, which is the lunar cycle.
What verse again?
That's the first rates off the start. This is
So that's just relating to the moon then, isn't it?
yeah. So all the ages of Adam, right? If you look at the ages, that's this right there. It's on the 425. It says Lamech 70 and sevenfold, right? And Lamech actually ends up living to be 777 years, which is the seven days of the week, 7 Sabbaths, and the 7. Santos knows more about that than I do, how that works out with the Sabbath.
That's the moon phases.
It's the moon cycles, right? So the ages of all these generations of Adam in the first 7 generations are the 7 lunar cycles, and when you stack them in line, those 7 cycles creates the great year of 5,886 biblical years, which is, I guess, would be probably the Jewish calendar, the ancient Chinese and Jewish calendar based on the lunar cycles. It's a lunar calendar, yeah.
There's this 5776 currently, or thereabout.
Yeah, whatever it adds up to, if you add up all the ages of these guys, right? Enos, which would be like Enoch, right? Enos and Canaan, Jared, and etc. Because Jared, all the days of Jared were 962 years, right? The next guy was 910 years. Enoch lived 665 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all there. These just needs to be ordered, doesn't it?
And so far as is 20 given. That's what I figured out of all those ages. Yeah.
How much are they?
120 years. That's what's given us. That's the what I get out of the Bible, at least. Yeah, but
Yeah, that's what later on it says.
I'm gonna bug them for 120 years.
120 years.
60 years to go.
But the days of Methuselah lived to be 969 years, and that's so. Methuselah is one lunar cycle.
55 years to go even.
Yeah. So that answers that question. It's interesting to become full cycle because I had asked Santos this last week to give me a hand trying to figure this out, and here we are having a chat, and now we figured it out. I know what it's all about. Perfect, guys. Appreciate it.
Good decoding that.
Go team, right? Teamwork. Yeah.
Yeah, so it needs a little bit of input here and then. It's all these pieces of the jigsaw soon come together.
Yeah, it's still, I mean, I know it's not quite live like that, but it's still live recording, isn't it? I mean, live researching. Happening as it's happening. It's cool.
I've got a little interesting thing to share. Just give me a tick to do. How's that? That's the color chakra I was talking about before. That's fine. Rob, you'll be interested in that. You see the pyramid?
Yeah, I can see that, mate. No problem.
This is very, very sacred, very sacred. There's many kinds of this. Here's one in Pontiac, Michigan, and you can see the lotus. You can see the lotus leaf here. It's the flat Earth. It's a mandala. It's called Sri Mandala, which means the highest mandala.
Lovely that, isn't it? It's nice when you see it and recognize it.
Yeah, well, look at this. This one's called the diagrammatic form. This one is the Vishnu form. So this one will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is a 12ness. It's the Sri Yantra Mandala. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, they stand out. I've looked at a few of these on the net trying to get connections, and are they temples? Do they have some other use? Are they sitting on top of some site that's of interest? A lot goes through my head when I look at them.
We'll see what they're doing is they're attempting to describe and explain the cosmos. But you'll find that they differ in their shapes because they're looking at different parts of the construct. There's the fourth dimensional, the fifth dimension, on and on. There's when you see one part of it, it's like when you look at the chassis, that's one system. Then you've got all the electricals go in, and then all the pneumatics go in, and then the hydraulics, and then it's so just describe. I think we will eventually be able to describe the whole cosmos with our models. It's going to be coming from bits of this and bits of that, by the looks of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I could overlay that image there on that grid, and things will line up correctly on it. You can see it. You can see the four corners there. Antarctic corners are there, just represented differently on there, but the circle's still there. The Arctic, I would call it the Antarctic Circle, where with the projectors on the outside.
Yep.
Or the portal, should I say. But they do hook in onto the main pyramid. Clear as day. That's clear as day. You can see what they use for the Giza pyramids shaft, the star shafts as they're called. Nothing when you think about what's really going on below. I think the Giza one is just like a monument to it as a big reminder. This is how it works, but people's it's just long gone until now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was created by what we call God as a reminder of the template that is used, that is underpinning the whole system. Without one, the others can't. So there's all of these angelic forces holding it all together. You know, it clearly talks about the four angels holding the four winds at the four extremities of the earth. It talks about sea monsters and things like this. Well, it's talking here about all of these trans-dimensional structures that would be in place for a cosmos to be able to be, Vishnu is the maintainer god, Brahma is the creator, and Shiva is the destroyer. So to maintain it, it needs all of its parts to be working, and all of the angels and archangels and powers that help to maintain it. They are all doing a service to us and to the creator. It's all a service, and it's all the betterment of the universe for us to grow. It's the prison, like a cocoon is a prison for a caterpillar, but one day the cocoon is broken, yeah, and the butterfly morphs into a butterfly and then flies off. And so where it is a cocoon, it's somehow there are 10 concentric layers to it, and we have to penetrate those, escape it, but it's protecting us at the same time and growing us till such time as we get our wings.
Lovely description. Yeah, got to agree there. Nice description. Yeah, you look around at all these different designs, doesn't matter what part of the world, this shape exists in some form or other. So everyone knew in times of old what it was all about. And slowly but surely, with the last few thousand years, it's been kind of erased. You know, they no longer realize what it represents. They lie to what it's representing. I know when they see my video, they'll recognize it straight away. Well, I hope they do. Yeah, this is what it's all about. You know, it's been there forever. Everywhere you look, once you start seeing these shapes, even you'll see some very intricate crop circles that makes you think, well, someone knows what they're doing to wake people up, or is it nature generating them? Which would be weird. But yeah, there's some complex shapes that you can put down to the mechanicals of our world, the way you look at them.
That's where crazy nuts like me come into play and start sticking wires into trees and things, right?
Yeah,
I'm about how much patience one must have to actually make one out of sand with all those colors. I've seen them, some of them, and really, what a work!
I'd never tap into a tree, but I wouldn't mind setting up an air gap, just bringing down whatever frequencies they're trying to use to control us with, is to bring them down and recycle them back into free energy and use it against them.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Get a frequency sniffer, because it just locks onto the strongest source, and then just convert that into something else if you've got the technology to do it.
Yeah, well, you just reverse a radio, right? If you pick up a radio signal, you don't have to convert it into sound to hear the signal. You just convert it back into electricity. It's the microphone. Right?
In a way, I think, well, provide me with the material and I can test. The whole money issue is my main problem to do any research. So far, I can manage to set up a server because I'm a programmer, but I'm also working with electronics to see how we can actually manage to create. But yeah, I'm just completely stuck in that money pit where. Yeah, social security is the crumb of the crumb of the crumb. What they leave just for you to not starve or be a thief in this system or something. Actually, developing sort of stuff with the abilities I actually have. That's another world so far.
I wonder if that universal income thing's going to come to the surface here soon. I hear a lot of talk about it, but I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I see it a lot, and then little experiments, we know it works. It's the only option left, if it is at all this whole money system. But then they will lose a lot of slaves, so they won't do it. It's not in the policies of the corporation.
I think they're going to lose a lot anyway once people wake up more to flat earth. You know, it's crumbling for them. Globalists are in a panic. You've got Brexit and Trump. That's been shifted politics slightly, even though the people don't realise what it is they're voting against. They know things are wrong, and they've rightly so tried to push it a different way, which is the only way it's on offer anyway. But to me, they're very good moves. Brexit, we can get out of the EU. The EU's the globalists, EU, UN, all these trade organisations and space agencies, all the same lot. You need to exit what they represent, and that's the hard part, because they're integrated everywhere. Exit, I mean, we're trying to get out of Brexit,
but still the same system, isn't it, though, Rob? FPV, still the same system we're in. I mean, they did Brexit anyway. It's not the people that probably chose that; it's them. What I'm saying is, a lot of people did vote for the Brexit, but
and it's still control. And I think cryptocurrency is the digital option to actually have a completely decentralized system where nobody can actually steal from you. Lecture and the whole principle of the blockchain. But to me, yeah, as a programmer, I see how that works and how you can actually trust the blockchain instead of trusting people. Because the technology is just working, and that's it's developed by a hacker, for example, who actually had a very bright idea to have a kind of cryptocurrency that can be decentralized from the state and the bank control. Because as long as you have a bank account and you have money on it, the state can take it away and the bank can take it away. But with cryptocurrency, only by losing your password, you can lose your money. It's just the same principle as how they create now the virtual side of all the so-called cash, where only 1% is paper money. So we can actually exchange between the hands, but the rest is purely digital, out of nothing in that sense. And they keep training us with their interest over it, because the money they create as an interest has to be loaned again, etc., etc. The perpetual, endless moving in there.
What about a flat Earth crypto coin? Make a community crypto coin of our own.
Yeah, and that's how you can the companies actually accept this as a valid valuta. And so far, Bitcoin is the first one who actually is used within virtual sites, for example, as a virtual store where you can buy everything with Bitcoin. Seem to be cafes and bars where you can order with Bitcoins and pay just with your phone. There's all kinds of application developed for it. But the banking system is also working with cryptocurrencies. Those are not decentralized. Those are the centralized parts of it. And so far, you need to also know which one is not centralized.
Do you think you could develop a crypto coin that matters?
My friend is happen to be developing one. He calls, I'm not sure, something with factor, but it's a pretty complex algorithm to conditions for the blockchain that you create this particular race for the miners, so that the one who wins actually creates the particular next blockchain in the chain itself, and that's how miners earn their money. Every transaction has a little fee. Miners can earn fees to do the actual what do you call that? To actually for all the transactions worldwide. And yeah, there are several. There are about 700 already alive somewhere. And the most is the coin at this point. One Bitcoin is already over $4,000. Yeah, and I'm just barely scraping the top of the iceberg of what cryptocurrency actually means and what it can do for the people, and actually take the power away of all those bankers and states who just constantly drain us from our own, where we work for, and actually own our own energy again, and then spend it to what we are. They can't tax it, they can't steal it, etc., etc. That's a whole undermining their system.
Well, that's happened. See, these maybe countries to collapse, don't they? To make a new start. It has to collapse to start a new way, really, doesn't it? When you think about it, it'd be hard to get out of this one, this new one, without things falling apart. So whatever the globalists have got planned, the quicker they make it fall apart, the quicker people can start recovering, I think.
The market has been always on the brink of collapse. And the only way they keep it alive is with cash flow, because on a market on the brink of collapse, and that's why, for example, you have this particular Afghani heroin dealing. Have it on Wall Street as a flow of cash flow, just to sustain the system, and that's the cash flow is what keeps it up. And if you take away that cash flow, indeed collapse. But you need something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are the cards to actually cause the cash flow, and we are the ones actually keeping it alive in that sense. So no longer actually be part of the whole system and build something new instead of the old world. The old will die here automatically.
Well, folks, I really want to jump off here, and I just want to say thanks and great hangout again. And I'm going to head to Australia and bring a banjo and sit down and have a jam session.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Look forward to it.
Oops.
You guys have a good
All
night.
right, guys.
Thank
All right, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care, bro.
Yeah. Nice one, mate. Catch you later, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. See you tomorrow.
You're up.
See you later on today.
Yep.
See you later, man.
Cheers.
Later.
Yeah, thank you for staying a long time, Santos. You've been with us a long time tonight. Very much appreciate it, and all the listening, and you telling us about, talking to us about your things as well. I'm beginning to myself to feel a little bit tired now. It's nearly 3 o'clock in the morning here.
Yeah, right. Well, let's call it a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Santos. Next week I'm.
The mute button. Thanks, guys. I enjoy the so I'm getting a lot out of them myself.
Really?
So
Well,
it's
yeah, brilliant.
mutual exchange. Great.
Yay! Thank you, Santos. It's
Great
been
to
this has been a good evening again today.
Everybody is adding to each other in that sense. The circle is only getting bigger, only more clear.
You got it covered, guys. We're doing a good job.
Anyway, thank you so much, Santos, for that. That was brilliant, and just more thinking and thoughts, isn't it? Really, as it goes in. So, are we all right then, Santos? If you want to go, then I think I've got to go as well, really, because I'm feeling quite tired. I don't know about anybody else. It's 4 o'clock for you, isn't it, Ceres?
Yeah, almost 4 o'clock. Huh?
Yeah, we always do laties, don't we?
I slept the whole day. Just from last night, a late hangout.
Oh. So, Santos, if I send you the link, well, Ceres might have to do it because I'm in Holland. I don't know how my phone works there. But I suppose you can run it off your internet, can't I, Ceres? But if we send you the link, 11 o'clock Thursday evening, which will be 8 o'clock Friday evening, Friday day for you, Santos.
Great. Sounds perfect.
And as per usual, we love you, Santos.
Likewise. Thank you. Big love. Big hugs.
Thank
Guys.
you.
Catch you later.
Yes, big hugs, Santos. Thank you so much.
Mwah, mwah.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
to you, Santos. Right, is Santos gone? I think I've got to finish now. I'm feeling really fidgety now.
It was a fantastic chat, that, wasn't it?
Did you like that?
Yeah, lovely that.
Santos
to
is
show him that, so I knew he'd understand it.
Santos is lovely.
That's the big red pill.
He's lovely, but like he's got something to say. He says it.
Oh. Yeah, great guy.